Howdy, y'all. If you landed here, you landed on Let's Talk News. I'm Leticia Remauro, and I am your host. We have a lot to talk about today. Holy moly. I got up this morning and I thought I was seeing things when I turned on the news and saw uh, what was going on with Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. That he actually got arrested. Um, crazy stuff. This Epstein stuff is going deep, and it's going deep in England or the UK. Well, let me correct terminology. But we knew that the reason why, right? Because we talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago, or maybe days ago. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a big shot in England, and he was hobnobbing with the royal family. And this whole Epstein thing is a financial cover-up, right? It's not about. I mean, it is about the sex with the young girls, but they're using the salacious stuff to cover up the billions of dollars now, because as more files come out, we can count up the numbers, that Epstein and his cohorts stole, undermined the banking system. It's crazy stuff, absolutely crazy stuff. But let me say hello first. Hi, Francine, good to have you. And Debbie Lebedo, how are you today? And Karen, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hi, Kevin Young. Thanks for coming. Hi, Santillion is here. Aloha. Aloha, brother. Aloha. I hope everything in Hawaii is good. And you got to catch us up on what you're doing with the Republicans out there. Hello, Angela Ricca. Good to have you. Not surprised they arrest for tweets here. Here, nothing. Okay. Well, yeah, they do arrest for tweets, but we're talking about the upper echelons, right? We're talking about the king's brother. And could the king have interfered in this? Maybe. I don't know. This is his baby brother. Remember, this is the last one Elizabeth had. But yeah, it's crazy stuff. And, the reason he was arrested was for telling Epstein, like, giving him official documents and telling him things that were pertain to the government, because he was part of the government. So, I mean, let's say this is the picture of him as they picked him up after he was arrested this morning. And the thing is, too, is that today was his birthday. So they decided not only to nab him, but they nabbed him on his birthday. And according to sources, he had offered to go down and meet with them. But instead of that, they raided his house. They did to him what they did to Trump. But Trump didn't offer to, and that I'm talking about the documents, the documents case. Yeah, but they made a spectacle out of it. So, do you think the royal family gave up little bro to protect everybody else? Because, like I said, Robert Maxwell was around long before Prince Andrew was born. So, yeah, they just gave him up so easy. And now it seems like Fergie was involved. That, according to Epstein, he was giving money, paying Fergie money to buy clothes and things like that. Paying Fergie money. The whole thing is a money thing. It's a money situation. They're using the salacious, sex trafficking stuff to cover up the money, because JP Morgan Chase, they paid a small little fine for looking the other way. I mean, like assistance to Jamie Dimon, looking the other way and giving and giving Epstein favorable loans. The stuff that Tish James, accused Trump of. And in reality, there was over $1 billion of nefarious financial dealings within JP Morgan Chase. So yeah, there's a lot. These documents, everybody's looking for the sex stuff, but people have to start, looking at the financial stuff, because the financial stuff to me is even more scary. And we know that Epstein, put these high-ranking people in precarious positions so that he could blackmail them. And when we talked about it the last time, I think I corrected myself, but I'll just reiterate, Epstein was worth $500 million when he died. And that's not even account all of the property. So about 500 million, kind of crazy. It's just crazy. Let's see who we have. Hello, Andrew Dorman. How was Epstein part of the government? Well, he wasn't part of the government, but because of Ghislaine and her connections and daddy, remember, Robert Maxwell owned publications, the Daily Mirror and other news media. So not hard for them to get close and get information and be, I don't know, have relationships with the royal family or the people inside Buckingham Palace. So when the prince was handing off, and this is post Epstein being arrested, tried, and convicted of inappropriate behavior with the minor, the one that Donald Trump gave information on. After that, the prince was still giving him stuff. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So why did Epstein need to have this information about, and it was about, let's see, I'll get it up here. Hold on a second. It was about, hold on, I've got to look through my notes here. It was about his trips to like Vietnam and like high security stuff, official trips, Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, and a lot of Asia trips, and also Afghanistan. So like real international stuff was being given. Let's see, Aston Martin information. In the same July 2010 exchange, Mountbatten relayed confidential details about internal conflicts at the British car manufacturer Aston Martin, including management problems and relations with its Kuwait owners. Private equity investment suggestion. On February 9, 2011, Mountbatten-Windsor suggested Epstein consider investing in a private equity firm he had visited the previous week. I mean, this is about money. It's about money. And as always, the salacious stuff is what catches everybody's eye and what everybody wants to talk about. And indeed, in 2019, when Epstein was arrested, he was arrested on child trafficking, but he wasn't arrested on the $450 million Ponzi scheme that he started, or that he was involved with, very heavily involved with a guy named Herzberg, I'm sorry. What was it called? Let's see, I forgot that. Where is again, I'm sorry, I have to go. There's a lot of notes here on this. It was, I can't find the name of the company, but it was the first company that Epstein worked at after he was a teacher at a private school in Brooklyn, where a lot of very wealthy parents, Jewish parents, sent their children. And then from that, he became an investor in finance. And then his main client was Les Wexler, Victoria's Secret, and he rooked him for a ton of cash. But I don't want to get all hung up on that. I just wanted to remind everybody this is about money. But he never got Epstein. Herzberg went to jail, but Epstein didn't. He kept slipping through, no matter what he did. With the J.P. Morgan Chase thing, J.P. Morgan had to pay fines. People resigned, but he never got in trouble. All these years, all this stuff. I mean, and it was very, very obvious to everybody, according to newspaper accounts, that he was running a Ponzi scheme. But they only wanted to talk about the sex and the trafficking and the kids. I filed a felony court case on a dude who assaulted me when I was on duty Saturday. I suffered 3 broken ribs and a contusion to my right side chest muscle. The state prosecuting attorney's office is working with me. Dude is toast and will have to pay all my medical expenses, lost wages, etc. Holy shit! I'm sorry to hear that. I'm hoping you're feeling okay. Really, really sorry to hear that you were attacked. Sacrificial lamb. There may be mysterious death watch. Yeah, well, there should be. And, and it's such a sin because, right, Virginia Giuffre was the one who blew the whistle on him. And she mysteriously, after she settled, got millions of dollars, was living in Australia with her husband and 2 children. And all of a sudden, she decides that she doesn't want to be on this earth anymore. I have to be careful what I say, otherwise we get censored. Okay, Michael Patrides. Mike is on mom duty, and he does a great job at it. Debbie Balabedo, friend of Mr. Clinton, Mr. Trump. No disrespect. The Clinton in the files, the Clinton connection was early on, and it ended before his conviction. That's all I have to say. Hi there, Susan Durema. Control the narrative like the media. Yes, indeed. Hi, Maisie. How are you? Hi, Kyle. Good to have you too. Republican Party here doesn't know what to do in Hawaii. They are paid opposition. They are lost. Oh, right. We've talked about that before, Robert. Yeah, and that's too bad. We have a lot of states like that. New York is fast becoming one. Okay, so we're catching up on comments from what I was saying. I was talking a lot. I guess he wasn't arrested on most schemes because there is where the proverbial bodies are buried. Right. So he either gave them up or the people took a fall on their own. But it was very clear. And I know it's 2020 hindsight, right? But it was very clear that he was involved in all these schemes. Was it Tower something? Yes, it was Tower something. Excellent, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. Tower Financial, I think it was called. Money schemes, I meant. Yeah, it's all about money. Jewish school is where he probably hooked up with Mossad. Possibly. It's, because a lot of the diplomats, foreigners, send their kids, to school in Brooklyn if they're Jewish. They'll put them in elite schools in Brooklyn because Brooklyn has a lot of elite schools because Brooklyn is, it's a moneyed borough. Even I'm not going to say more so than Manhattan, but it has a lot more people, and so these specialty schools or these schools where certain religious sects go, whether it's Catholic or Buddhist or Jewish or Muslim, you'll find them in Brooklyn. So it could very well be. I saw he ordered 300 gallons of sulfuric acid to the island the day after he was arrested to dissolve bodies. I did not see that anywhere. There is a lot of crap out there that is not true in the files, but I did not see that in the file documents. So, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just didn't see it. So I can't say if it's true or not. But I just don't know what bodies are we talking about anyway. I'm not sure. All right. So clearly, the UK has a problem now because, we've got Charles, basically wanting to put distance between him and his brother. We've got the whole Harry situation going on, right? We've got, William and Kate. I mean, probably the most magnificent couple that you want to see. They are absolutely what grandma would have wanted, for the palace. Charles has his problems, as we know and we remember, right? But the people of the UK are losing confidence in everything, not just, the royal family. That's been going on for forever, but also in their political leaders. You remember that Starmer's chief of staff had to resign over the appointment of, I forget his name, but I'll show you the clip. Watch.
Now, global news. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, has now resigned.
His resignation comes as pressure intensifies on Starmer over his decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the United States.
Now, Starmer is facing what is widely seen as the gravest crisis of his 18 months in power. And this is over his decision to send Mandelson to Washington in 2024. The Epstein files have revealed the extent of Mandelson's relationship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
In a statement, McSweeney claimed responsibility for Mandelson's appointment, adding that he advised Starmer to make the decision, part of a huge tranche of Epstein files made public in the US, which revealed scandalous photos of Mandelson.
Now, they also reveal that he had sent market-sensitive information to Epstein when he was the British government's business secretary during the 2008 financial crisis.
Following the revelation, Starmer's government has promised to release its own emails and other documentation related to Mandelson's appointment. The government says that its documents will show that Mandelson misled officials. Starmer had fired Mandelson in September last year over his ties with Epstein.
Now, Starmer apologized this week for, quote-unquote, having believed Mandelson's lies. And he said no one knew the depths of the darkness of the relationship between Mandelson and Epstein when the former was vetted for Britain's most important diplomatic post in 2024.
So Mandelson is the name I couldn't remember. It just, again, the financial stuff, it's just mentioned in passing. And it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind because, it'll always be salacious over money. And it's the money that controls the world. And it's the money that we have to watch, not just in America, but worldwide, because it's the people with the money that influence others, as we've seen. So basically a Brooklyn school teacher born to, the father would work for the parks department. The mother, I forgot, worked part-time somewhere. I can't remember where. I think maybe at the school. Lives a life of luxury. And when he dies is worth more than $500 million and is hobnobbing with royalty, literal royalty, not just in the UK, but in other countries as well, including in Israel. Well, not that there's royalty in Israel, there's not, but I mean, he internationally. So what the hell? I mean, I almost feel like he was a spook, like he was a spy for the FBI or something. Let's see, where am I? Yeah, I saw that about the acid. So where did you see it and what bodies are we talking about? That's my question. I didn't see it in the files. And it's easy enough. You can ask ChatGPT or Grok or any of those to go through the files for you. And then you can get the information, what's true and what's not true. Isn't the UK Muslim controlled now? well, I'm going to show you a clip of that. A lot of, not the UK entirely, because the prime minister is Starmer, but the and Starmer's party is the Labour Party. And what happened though is a lot of Muslims moved into the cities. And so now, like, the major cities in England and the UK are now under, have Muslim mayors. And the greatest voting bloc in these cities are Muslim. So, and that's how they became the mayors. Didn't specify to dissolve bodies. Purchase order supposedly in files. They say it used for desalination, but that's excessive. There's stuff on sacrifices and cannibalism. Is that real? No, I did not see anything in the files on sacrifices or cannibalism. I did. There were, I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you were here, Colleen. There was a model who was screaming that somebody was eating bodies, but not with Epstein. It was somebody else. And somehow they sucked that into the Epstein situation. So that might be where things are conflated. And it was investigated by the FBI and no such thing occurred. It was just her. She was losing her mind, or she was on some psychotropic drugs. I think the UK blocked Trump from using a strategic airspace to target Iran. That could be. I know that it's our, who is it? Oh God, why can't I think of the country? And it's one of our allies now in the Middle East, said that we couldn't use the airspace to target Iran. I'm sure the UK, it would just make sense, right? They're giving us grief over Greenland. They're giving us grief over this because they're just a mess. I'm going to show you that video in a minute. I think it was Joe Rogan talking about the asset. I think you sent it to me, Maisie. Oh, okay. The money promotes globalism. Yes, it does. We can go into some detail, but here is in a nutshell. Through our federal court cases, homeless issues is a money-making scam here. We have them flown here and processed, then released, and then they commit crimes. Political parties get money via the homeless issue. Republican Party gets money from the DNC to suppress votes for good Republicans. We have one good one, and they are trying to smear him. Now the state AG is investigating. So, basically, what's happening in Hawaii is what's been happening in New York and in other places. The party in control just makes sure that there's not a two-party system. They said he was CIA involved. That could very well, that could be. But I mean, I don't think that the CIA would let one of their own get away with the child trafficking, which I have no doubt was done, for the purpose of getting information, from other world leaders. And and also I don't think this CIA would stand for him making $500 million unless he was distributing it out to all the agents, which we know he wasn't. So I don't know. All right. So here's what's going on with Starmer. It's in a nutshell, much, much longer piece, but in a nutshell, what's going on with Starmer.
Things could certainly be going better for Keir Starmer. In the last couple of months, we've seen the Labour Party slip further and further down in the polls, with them now being overtaken by Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, indicating that if there was an election hold today, on paper at least, Farage could become the next occupant of number 10 Downing Street. Since the 16th of April, Reform has consistently been first in every poll by the major pollsters. Even more significantly, since the local elections on the 1st of May, we've seen that Reform has not only polled out in front, it has, in some instances, recorded double-digit leads. A Find Out Now poll from the 21st of May, for instance, shows Reform on 32%, and Labour in second place down on 21%, giving Reform an 11-point lead. When we move on and have a look at policy areas, we can start to see why. According to YouGov, the public think that the two most important policy areas are asylum and immigration and the economy. Unfortunately for Starmer, Labour are just not trusted on either of these, despite their efforts in recent weeks and months. On asylum and immigration, a mere 11% think that Labour would be the best party to handle this. Above them is none, indicating a respondent thinks that no party would do well handling it, which is on 14%, and Reform UK, which is on 37%. 71% of Brits have also said that immigration has been too high for the last 10 years, and 76% have said that the current government is handling the issue badly. Realising this was an issue, a few weeks ago, Starmer announced a new set of rules aimed at cracking down on immigration. As part of this, he promised to increase the amount of time that migrants have to have lived in the UK before attaining settled status, while also introducing new rules requiring English tests for all visa applicants. Clearly, though, the electorate have not been convinced by this. When it comes to the economy, things look just as dire. According to YouGov, roughly the same number of people think Labour and the Tories would be better at looking after the economy. Brutally, though, the same number think that no party would be good at looking after it.
All right, just to fix that credit, that was not CNN, that was TLDR news in the UK. So, at the end of the day, Nigel is the Reform Party is basically the UK's MAGA party. They broke off from the Conservatives because they claimed that that the Conservatives were, playing footsies with the Liberals, which the Labour Party is. Keir Starmer is the Liberals, if you will. And there's a lot of minor parties. There's a lot of parties. There's the Tories, there's the Conservatives, there's the Reform, which is Nigel Farage. Keir Starmer is Labour, and then there's tons of others. But at any rate, Farage broke off and basically started MAGA UK, if you will, well, but not Make America Great, Make the UK Great Again. So they're pulling ahead, and Starmer, who is acting like he's German instead of English, with all of his restrictions and trying to stop free speech, put age limitations on the use of social media and things like that. He's just going down the tubes. And they say that he is hard to understand, very similar to Kamala. Now, you might remember, too, that Starmer sent people from his party to America to campaign for Kamala Harris against Donald Trump, which is absolutely not allowed and could be an international incident, but nothing came of it. Okay, the UK blocked RAF bases so they can't attack Iran. That was in the New York Post. United Kingdom, Falkland Islands, and Gibraltar have RAF bases. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, they're not on board with any of this because they're people, they want peace. And the Starmer's party does not care for Trump. There are plenty of people love him, but Starmer's party doesn't. Hey, Amal, immigration is a big problem everywhere. Yes, absolutely. It is a big problem everywhere. And we talk about that on the show all the time. It's not just America. This is, this has been going on in England and France and Denmark and Sweden, in Norway, in Poland. I mean, it's everywhere. And in Italy. And slowly, as things become untenable in those countries, the people elect far right to correct the course, the same way as America reelected Trump. So it is a problem everywhere. And the big question that we always ask here on Let's Talk News is, what happened? What global crisis occurred that nobody knows about that sent people from Africa and the Middle East scurrying to migrate to the Western nations? The answer is nothing. Nothing happened except for that the socialists and the global elitists want to actually get rid of Western civilization. And they want to make us all cogs in the wheel. They want to get rid of America, and they want to get rid of Western civilization. And they're doing a great job of it in Canada and the UK and other places. So that's why it feels like America is standing up where nobody else will. We're the last bastion. And that's why Marco Rubio gave that speech the other day, which AOC criticized him on twice. It is believed that the CIA intervened with probable American U.S. shakeups. Anything is possible. Well, the CIA, has been behind a lot of things, a lot of takeover, right? Cuba. I think under Clinton, there was a movie made. I think it was called The Tail That Wagged the Dog, about Clinton kind of going to war to take the public's mind off of Monica Lewinsky, and it actually was it was factual. Our Lieutenant Governor Silva Luke is backtracking about a bribery of $35K. They first stated only good Representative Brendan Awa. He went on record in Open Legislation 21, January 2026, that they can show any evidence they have on him. While that opened Pandora's box. And it's interesting. We don't hear a lot about what's going on in Hawaii here in the mainland in our news. And I wonder why. What's the solution? How are we going to save ourselves? I feel very defeated in all areas. And AOC was promoting that on the global stage. So Maisie, the solution is that we have to keep talking about it, because the mainstream media is not reporting this stuff, right? Why all the salacious stuff? Why are the Democrats calling Epstein files? And then when they're released, they're all going, why did you release the Epstein files? And they're trying to connect Trump with it because the people who follow them are stupid, right? They're just stupid. And so we have to connect the finances, which is the more critical issue, because the finances make the world go round. And we have to be able to, and Marco Rubio has been doing this more and more and more, is connect all these leaders together. And ironically, they're going to all be connected through the Epstein files. This is where we get to see how small the world really is through the Epstein files. So I was never one to want to see what was going on in the Epstein files, because he was dead, number one. And the whole sex trafficking stuff, turns my stomach. It just does. And I felt like that the young ladies who were victims, had to sue civilly, because who were they going to arrest? Ghislaine Maxwell was already arrested, right? So they didn't even, and remember, Mountbatten-Windsor, Andrew, didn't get arrested for sexual deviancy or sex trafficking children. He got arrested for offering classified information and sharing government files with a guy who's outside the government. And that's why I say, if we keep on going, we want you to get the people who abuse the kids, we're never going to get there. We need to get the people who allowed the financial corruption, the Ponzi schemes, to live. And I think that we have to talk about it. We have to stop talking about the salacious sexual part, and we have to start talking about the global power grab and the money, because that's the part nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to talk about sex, but nobody wants to talk about money. And even, in the depositions and everything else that Epstein has been through, all before he killed himself, all before he died, never did they ever ask him about money. Never. Let's see. China owns most of the mainstream media. Yes, indeed. So we have to be our own media. That's what we have to do. But we're preaching to the choir, or else people who won't change their minds regardless. We are powerless without mainstream media. Well, I don't think that that's so, because 99% of mainstream of coverage of, well, actually, it's 99.9% of coverage of Trump in the media is negative. But he was returned to power, right? He was returned and he was voted back in. So that means alternative media actually actually hit. And remember when I posted about Chuck Schumer the other day, and this show is called What Changed? Well, guess what? Right after I posted it, it's now everywhere. The same clip I posted. There were other clips going around, but the same widescreen clip that I grabbed was being posted over and over again with the comment, "What changed?" And even the White House reposted it. So, we can make the news. We've got to give. This is the whole idea of this show, is if the media is talking about this, I want to know what the real story is. And so the media is talking about salacious bullshit and everybody's into it, but we have to look at the backstory because it's all there and nobody's talking about the finances. And that, in my opinion, is what we have to talk about. So share the show. We're gaining followers all the time. More and more people are watching it. And it may be because we're not picking up exactly what the news is picking up. We're going behind the news. I don't want to hear, I already heard details and it turned my stomach. I have daughters so sick. Yeah, I agree. So the Epstein stuff, we need to talk about the financial part because he was worth $500 million, Amal, and he was a high school, a private school teacher. And then he got involved in Tower Financial and started a Ponzi scheme. And a lot of people went to jail for the stuff that he did in the Ponzi schemes, but he never did. So the sexual stuff was a cover up for the financial stuff. And as I said, JP Morgan Chase, a lot of things are implicated there. One good thing is the military industry is pushing for weapons manufacturing facilities here in Hawaii. I'm going to apply. Oh, well, that makes sense. Sex trafficking is dangerous, despicable, and unacceptable. Yes, but people want to read about it, right? That's the thing. Well, they don't want to read about it. That's the thing that gets their ears perked up, and, interestingly, when Biden was in office, 340,000 kids went missing, and Trump has now found almost 200,000 of them, and is protecting them. Let's see. We're over again. No, look what that kid did in Minnesota with the fraud. Kid with the fraud. There's so much fraud in Minnesota. I'm just trying to figure out which kid. Is that the one that they were talking about today with the office that wasn't in office? Absolutely so sickening. Thank you and have a good night. Yeah, we got to go because when we run over, it's not good. I know I won't be here tomorrow, but if anything really big, breaks, we will be. But again, I'll post the financial stuff. And we'll talk more about the financial stuff on Epstein. But, it was a cover. The sex covers up the financial. So I guess we just accept it. What, the sex stuff? No, you can't accept it. But it's that. Who do they arrest? The laws on the books about children, about trafficking children, they're nothing. Child molesters get out in like 10 years. They should be castrated. They should have the death penalty, but they're not. That's the thing, Kyle. I mean, we can demand that there are stricter laws for child trafficking to protect children, and we should be doing that. But to go back in time and try and make the whole Trump administration about sex trafficking, and going to find those people, again, if you prosecute them under the laws when they did the crime, they'd be out already. That's what I'm saying. But the money, these people made a ton of money. That money should go to the victims. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. In other words, he exposed the child care fraud. No mainstream media. The kid. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes. Nick, I forget. Yeah, exactly. Have a nice weekend. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not on the ball. See you soon, sis. We can conversation when you have time. Okay, Bob, I'll talk to you later. Everybody, I will see you on Sunday.